Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video we'll be learning how to make this beautiful top. So if this is what you would like to learn how to make, do well to continue watching, and also please do not forget to also like, subscribe, and also drop a beautiful comment. So let's get started. So right here I have my vertical measurements, and the next thing I just want to do is to mark out my neck width of 3 inches and mark out my shoulder length of 7 inches, come down by 1.5 inches from my shoulders length, and from there I will also come down by 7 inches from my chest line. And I also want to go ahead to ensure that these lines are accurate, and then after which I'll use my pattern ruler to connect these lines together. So for the vertical measurement that I have my bust point, which is the first line I have, and the next line is my half length, and then my hip line. Those are the lines I have for the vertical measurement here. So I've gone ahead to connect the line that I have together. The next thing I'm going to do was to mark out my bust round divided by 4, and what I'm doing right now is that I'm marking out my nipple to nipple measurement, which is my bust span measurement, and I've gone ahead to connect with my pattern ruler. So now I'm going ahead to mark out my dart intake. So for my dart intake I did 0.5 inch, and I've gone ahead to connect just as you've seen me do here. So now after connecting, the next thing I will want to go ahead to do is to mark out my vertical measurements. So for my waist round on my half length, I'm going to go ahead to mark out my waist round divided by 4 and add also our dart intake and connect that to our bust point. So right now from my side dart, I went ahead to mark 1.5 inches, and I also went ahead to mark my hip round divided by 4, but I added about 1 inch extra for my hip line. So I've gone ahead to connect these lines together. So for my neck depth, I'm going to go ahead to come down by 9 inches, and I'll go ahead to use my pattern ruler to connect the lines together. And the next thing I want to do now is my shoulder, for the armhole. So for the armhole, while marking these together down, I noticed that I had more than the 7 inches proposed for the shoulder slants. So because of that, I went to remark it and also went ahead to do the correct measurement. And I'll go ahead now to get the midpoint and come out by 3/4 of an inch. And after coming out, I want to use my pattern ruler to connect it just as you see me do here. And after which now, I think for the basic, we are done with our basic drafting for these front parts. So the next thing I'll be doing now is that, so for this, from my hip line, I'm going to go down by 2 inches. And I also want to go ahead from my side. I also want to go down by 23 inches and connect these together. So if you notice our top, one of the parts is longer than the other. So this is for the shorter one. And after now connecting this line together, from my starting point, I also want to go ahead to come down by 33 inches. And this 33 inches is going to be for the longer part. And I'll just want to go ahead, use my pattern ruler to connect these lines together. So the next thing I want to do now is for the opening in the mid part. So I'll be using 3 inches for mine. So I just drew a straight line, and after drawing the straight line, I want to go ahead to mark out 3 inches. So it was 2.5 inches which I thought of first, but I went ahead to mark 3 inches, and I'll be connecting this to my half length. So you might not want to mark on this line that I marked. You might also want to mark on the exact line that we are going to be connecting it. So this is what we have after connecting this. So at some point I decided that I wanted my neck to be more curvy. I was not comfortable with how straight it was, so I just went ahead to get my curved pattern ruler and went ahead to curve it. You might not want to do this, and you might also want to do this. And also please ignore the straight line that I marked there. It's not necessary. So at this point, I'll say we are done with the front, and we just want to go ahead to proceed to the back now. So the same measurement I did for the neck with chest line and all of that for the front is what I returned to the back, and also our vertical measurement. The difference here is the half length. So this is my back half length. My back half length is 1.5 inches shorter than the front. And from my back half length down to my hip line, I went ahead to measure from my front half length to the hip line, and I returned the same measurement for the vertical measurement. So now what I want to do now is to go in by ½ inch in the hip line and mark it out, and also connect the line. And I went ahead to mark out 4 inches for our dart intake, and which I had already gone ahead to mark out. So what we'll just be doing now, we'll be repeating the same process, returning the ½ inch which we did for our dart intake. This is also the same process which we did for the front. So you just want to go ahead to follow through, and after this I'll just want to go ahead also to mark out my my horizontal measurement, which is my bust round divided by 4, And I also want to go ahead to use my curve ruler to connect these together. And also on my half length, I also want to go ahead to mark out my waist round divided by 4. And I also added that intake. And also on the hip line, I also want to go ahead to mark out. Just go ahead to return the same measurement which you did for the front and return it to the back. So for my hip, on the center part, I just want to go ahead to come down by 2 inches. And after this measurement which I have from my waist down, I would just want to go ahead to return this measurement, what I have on the front, return it to the back, and go ahead to connect it with my pattern ruler, just as you see me do. And at this point, I decided that I would want to add 2 inches extra to the hip. So I went ahead to add extra 2 inches to my hip round, and I went ahead to connect this. And after connecting, I used my pattern ruler to connect the lines together. So these same 2 inches I marked for the back hip line. I also want to go ahead to return these same 2 inches to the front. So after which I will also want to use my pattern ruler to connect it together. So I'm just going ahead to measure what I have up there, and I'm going ahead to return it. And I want to use my pattern ruler to connect it. So this ruler, don't mind that I was using this ruler won't work. And while trying to connect, I saw that I decided that I just wanted to extend it up a bit. So I went ahead to extend it up a bit and connected this line together. And this line that I connected, this new line which I connected together, I want to go ahead to measure it and also return this line to the back, mark it, and also ensure that our front side measurement and our back side measurements is together. So you just want to go ahead, do this, and also extend the line. And also you also want to repeat the same process for the second line that we have for the front. So what I want to do now is my neck depth for the front. I'll be coming down by 1 inch, and after coming down by 1 inch, I've gone ahead to use my pattern ruler to connect it. And I'll say at this point we are done, and the next thing we just want to do now is to go ahead to cut out, which I'll be doing now. So for the front, I've gone ahead to cut out for the long part, and after doing that, I want to go ahead now to cut out the short pattern out. So after cutting the short pattern out, I'll just want to go ahead to proceed to my fabric and cut out to fabric, and also proceed to cut out for the other parts. So right here, I've gone ahead to cut out for the short pattern, and this is what I have. So not forgetting, I also went ahead to add about ½ inch round for allowance, and for the down I added about 1 inch. So the next thing we want to proceed to do is to sew our darts for on the front pattern and our side dart here also. So I'll just want to get my pattern paper and trace out where my side dart is directly to the fabric so that I can go ahead to sew. So I got my pattern paper and placed it, and I don't know, this method, this is what I do. So it could actually work for you still. You could use a tracing wheel also for this, but I got my office pin and I pinned that part from the pattern paper down to the fabric. And I'm going to take note of that and also go ahead to pin this other for the side here. And what I will do is that I'll get my chalk and go ahead to mark that out. So after doing this, so when sewing my side dart, it's going to serve as a guide for me. So I just got my chalk, mark my bust point there, and also go ahead to use this line to draw it out. And I also want to go ahead to repeat the same process for the side. Or otherwise, if you do not want to stretch this, you could actually go from the midpoint and mark out 4.5 inches down and go ahead to mark your dart. But I just wanted to get exactly what I have, so I went ahead to mark up with my ruler, and this is going to cost 10. I went ahead to mark out with my chalk on my fabric, and I also want to go ahead to repeat the same process for this other part. And join after sewing the dart, I also want to go ahead to join the midpoint together and repeat the same process for the lining. So for this video, I mistakenly deleted a large part of the sewing part for this blouse, and I do not have them, so that is why I do not have the sewing part here. But then this is going to be the end. So then I would just want to say, if you would like me to also share the sewing part on how I went about it, then you could drop in the comment section and I will promise to do that. So I'll say thank you for watching and staying to this point. Do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, drop a beautiful comment, and if you have any question or if you want me to drop the sewing part, do a video of it. I will. You can drop that in the comment section, and I promise to attend to it. So thank you.